Does anal retentive have a hyphen?
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, September 16th meeting of the City of Beacon Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Jordan Haug. I am the chair of this board. Thank you for everyone else for being here, fellow board members, our attorney, secretary, building inspector. We have a few items on the agenda this evening. We have a regular continuation of a public hearing and then 2 items of miscellaneous business. Has everyone on the board been able to review the minutes of the August 19th, 2025 meeting? Are there any comments, edits, etc.? If not, could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Montos. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Stowe. All in favor? Aye. And then could I have a motion is this going to be a new hearing technically, or is it a reopening? All right. Can I have a motion to continue the hearing on agenda item number 1, please?
So moved.
Motion by Judy. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Ready? Yep. Ready for you.
So one of the reasons I wanted to have the second set of steps is the one part goes over my basement. So if there's ever a fire in there, I need 2 places of egress to get out of the house.
You should say your name and address, please.
Dean Vandermark, 4 Fowler Street.
She's done.
That was one of my main concerns with the stairs. You know, if there's ever a fire in my basement, those doors, those the doors in my basement are underneath the proposed deck area. So I need a set of stairs going down one way, or if there was a fire, I can go down the other way. So I think the problem you guys had was the distance from the property line to the side of the deck, which I think I gave you guys a copy of.
So am I correct that we really considered this last time, but we just had a noticing problem?
Yeah, the application has, as far as I understand, and Mr. Vandermark, you can please confirm, but the application itself has not changed. It was just last time that the distances were confused, so the notice was deficient as to what was actually being applied for. At this point, it is a proposed 3-foot 7-inch side yard setback. 10 feet are required, so that's a 6'5" variance from that 10 feet. But everything remains as it was proposed last month.
Can you tell me how wide the steps are?
3 feet.
The steps are 3 feet.
On that side, yes.
So if you didn't have that, you currently have 6.7 feet there from the house to the property line.
Correct.
Got it. And does the current concrete walkway exist, or is that a proposed concrete walkway?
That exists.
That exists?
It's not in great shape, but it exists.
And the steps will align with the current concrete walkway?
Well, I'll have to, it's away from the house like a foot, so I'm gonna put a little concrete pad area, angle it over to the existing walkway.
Got it.
And you'll still have access to the basement where it goes
It'll be
under?
underneath the deck like the original deck was.
But you can get in and out of that?
Yes.
It's high
There
enough?
was an existing deck there already.
Okay.
It'll actually be skinnier than the existing deck was at that area. By about a foot, I believe.
You're saying because the existing deck covers it all now? and
Well, the existing deck fell down, but yes.
It was covering the full Bilco?
It just came out a foot farther, so you had a duct to get in there.
Yeah.
Now you probably won't have the duct, there'll be an extra foot.
So would you consider moving the whole deck over to cover it like it was before?
Then you would have no access to the basement
I
if
see.
you did that. which is a wooden door, and that's why I would like to have 2 sets of egress to get out of the house.
Got it.
In case of a fire.
Any other questions, thoughts?
I guess can I just make a comment?
Yeah,
to
of
the board?
course.
Just if the applicant were to do a ground level patio, he wouldn't need to be in front of us, right?
Correct.
Okay, just want to throw that comment out there, so.
All right. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this public hearing? You just,
No, you come
No,
up.
you have to go
name-
up to the podium.
Name and address.
My name is Graham Lawler. I live at 334 Fishkill Avenue here in Beacon, but I own the house right across the street from this place on Teller Avenue, 1719 Teller. I have no problems with this variance, so go right ahead as far as I'm concerned.
thank you.
Voice my support. Thank you.
If no other questions, we'll close the public hearing and then we'll go through our criteria. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing on agenda item number 1?
Motion to close the hearing.
Motion, can I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then we'll go through the criteria as to whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance.
I don't believe so. I don't see how a detriment would be created.
I don't think so. It doesn't encroach that far on the neighbor.
I agree. No detriment to the neighborhood.
Sounds like it improves the neighborhood since the porch has fallen down.
Could be interpreted that way, yes. All right. As to whether the benefit the applicant seeks can be achieved through another means feasible for the applicant to pursue that does not require the area variance.
Yes, I mean, he can simply put a ground level paver with stone, interlocking stones, and there would be no need for a variance.
But he'd lose some of the size of the deck because of the access to the basement. Because he can't put the pavers over the basement.
But he can go further to the property line, too.
That's true.
I suppose it depends on how you define the benefit you're
Yep.
seeking, right?
Yeah, he'd need stairs to go down to the stone, where with the deck, he gets an egress that goes straight out. So I can understand that, me being a little bit older myself. You know, it is nice to have something that you could just walk out and not have to go downstairs for. Yeah.
As to whether the requested variance is substantial.
I don't believe it's substantial.
I don't either.
I don't
No.
either.
The house is already non-conforming on that side. It's
Right.
not that substantial.
Could always argue, of course, it's mathematically substantial, not dispositive. As to whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
No.
No,
I agree, no.
Because?
For all the factors we just decided, it's not substantial, it's not overpowering. I think it'll actually improve the property a little bit more.
I think it'll improve the look of the property.
Yeah.
And it's a small deck. It's not
As to whether the alleged difficulty is self-created.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure is. And as to whether the requested variance is or is not the minimum variance necessary and adequate to preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community.
I say yes because I don't think it endangers the health, safety, or welfare of the neighborhood as proposed.
I agree with that, Montos.
I agree with Montos.
All right, great. And so, just want to ask the applicant, we normally, if we grant variances, we condition them on things always. Those two conditions are all fees are paid current with the city, and then you obtain a building permit within 6 months of the adoption of the resolution, commence construction within 6 months of that, and then complete construction and get a CO within 24 months. So just want to confirm your intention is to be able to meet those dates. Yes. Okay. Very good. Could I have a motion?
Motion to grant?
Second?
With the normal,
With the
the normal
conditions
as
you
stated by
outlined.
the chairman.
all right. We have a motion by Montos. We have a second, and then I will call the roll. Stowe?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Montos?
Yes.
Elaine?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
That's it.
Have a good evening.
Thanks for coming back.
All right.
Nice drawing.
So just to confirm, George, the miscellaneous business are not public hearings, correct? All right. All right. So we have two miscellaneous business items to address tonight. If we could have miscellaneous business item number 1, which is 152-158 Fishkill Avenue.
Did we vote to close the public hearing?
We closed the public hearing on agenda item number 1.
Okay,
We're just not opening a public hearing
Okay.
now.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And for the board's edification, so this first miscellaneous item, just by way of background, is 152 to 158 Fishkill Avenue. It's seeking a fourth 6-month extension of the approval. This approval was issued back in July 18th, 2023 by the ZBA, so about 2 years ago. We've given a couple, or the board has given a couple 6-month extensions. The first one was at March 19th, 2024, September 17th, 2024, March 18th, 2025, and now today they are seeking the fourth 6-month extension. We have a representative of the applicant here that can answer any questions as to the status and what has been going on, but that's just by way of background where the application is and what's before us.
Hi, good evening. My name is Allison Fauster. I'm an associate with the law firm Cuddy and Fader, appearing on behalf of the applicant. A couple brief updates. Last week, the applicant secured a 6-month extension from the
Excuse me?
planning board.
Could you put the microphone closer?
Sure. Is that better?
Oh, yeah.
All right, from the top, my name is Allison Fauster. I'm an associate with the law firm Cuddy and Fader, appearing on behalf of the applicant. By way of brief update, last week the applicant appeared before the planning board and secured a 6-month extension of the subdivision and site plan approvals. It's my understanding that the applicant is now coordinating a final set of plans to be submitted for John Russo, the city engineer's final sign-off. Then they'll be signed by the chairman, and we can continue to progress towards a issuance of a building permit.
So the planning board is approving the extension again, right?
Well,
Does
There-
the planning board have anything to do with needing the extension?
Well, so this, the project, I guess, at the status, I'm not 100% sure of where it is before the planning board now, but yeah, the variance approval is tied to being able to actually develop the project. So once they get past these final steps with whatever other municipal boards are involved, they can proceed. So that's why my understanding, the applicant needs this 6 months just to get everything over the finish line.
Okay.
I'm just thinking. Well, so in theory, the process is someone has to come to us to get variances and then continue to go through the planning board process and continue to have to ask for extensions from us?
Well, so typically what it is, and I could look at the original variance that was approved, but typically what it is, especially for larger projects, the planning board will review a project. If it needs any variances, they'll send it to the ZBA, because if they can't get those variances, they'll go back to the planning board with a different project. The ZBA's approval expires based on when they get that final approval from the final land use board, which is typically the planning board. Now, planning boards can, and I don't know what the situation is here, they can give a conditional final approval that requires you to go through some steps after the board says you're good if you do X, Y, and Z. How long it takes to do X, Y, and Z could require an extension by the planning board. But because the ZBA's approval is tied to that previous planning board approval, you also need to keep getting those extensions. It's fairly typical, just depending on how the planning board approval works, or, you know, city council approval, whatever the case may be, whatever the final land use approval is.
So what would be a rationale for us to not approve it?
I'd be hard pressed to find one. Typically, extensions, as we've discussed in the past, are, you know, freely granted absent a change in law or a change in conditions. As I understand, there is nothing changed. They're just working through to get that final sign off from the planning board, which will then allow them to proceed, I believe, to Brian's office and get anything they need from there.
And then just to confirm, so this is a 6-month extension of our variance by which they need to have a building permit within 6 months? Is that correct?
They would need to have everything, you would take the exact application, this is where it gets confusing, you're putting me on the spot here. They would need to have all the conditions of approval would start counting, would be pushed back those 6 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whatever that first one is, which is getting the building permit, yeah, all of that. If
Sure.
they need to come back, they'll get an extension at that point, but essentially, they're getting some extra time here.
And just for the public's, and whoever's watching this, would you say on a larger project, 4 6-month extensions is normal?
It is typical. I've seen double-digit extensions granted. I've seen personally 14 for certain projects, not in this city, but in other municipalities. The larger the project, the more typical it is, you know. If you're building a deck or a driveway, maybe that's not the case, but certainly on a larger project, there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of times where you can't commence construction based on maybe the weather outside or something, so it is fairly typical.
But it's still a control for us in case the project was abandoned or...
Correct, it is
Yeah.
still a control, and it incentivizes the applicant to move ahead, because the applicant does not want to keep coming before the board asking for a 6-month extension or whatever the case is, provided the applicant is moving forward, and here it sounds like the applicant is.
Great. Thank you. All right. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Motion by Judy, second by Montos, geez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Very good.
Thank you very much. I'll stay up for the next one.
Go for it.
So if I could run the board through this one too, make it a little easier for Ally here. This is 22 Edgewater Place.
It is, yes.
This is another extension request. This is a 2-year extension. This is a little bit different. This was approved back in January 17th, 2018. It was a ZBA approval. It basically gave a 5-year window. Since then, the board gave the board gave a 2-year extension at its August 15th, 2023 meeting. That makes the, that 2018 approval resolution valid through September 11th, 2025. They are now seeking a second 2-year extension to it, to make it go up until September 11th, 2027. And again, Allison could speak as to the status of that project. We also have the determination from Brian as to that project that gives some insight into where it stands in terms of progress.
So we're seeking either a 2-year extension or a determination from this board that the project has been substantially completed, because that's a condition contained within the Zoning Board of Appeals resolution. You probably saw your building inspector issued a determination that it hasn't been substantially completed. So let me give you a little bit of background of what's been done on the site and where we stand today. So the project was a 2-phase development. The first phase is completely finished. That involved the complete construction of 4 buildings, 3 of them which are filled with residential units, and the additional last one was tenant amenity space. So those are up and running, they're fully tenanted. We're now starting on this second phase, which involves buildings 1 through 4. Building 4's foundation has been completed, and building 3's is underway.
Okay, so we already have 1 and 2, and now 3 and 4 is happening?
So we already have, sorry, so the arrangement is a little odd, but buildings 5 through 8 fully constructed. Now we're working on 1 through 4, 3 and 4 are underway. That's correct.
Thank you.
And then George, just to refresh our recollection, the variances were for what? Sorry.
I will tell you.
Or
now.
Ally, the variances
I can
for
address
what?
that,
Great.
yes. So the variances were for building height. I believe 4.5 stories were permitted, some are 5. There were also 4 number of units within the buildings, and the last one was distances between the buildings themselves.
Okay. And were there extensions here also granted by planning, or that would not needed?
Oh, gosh. It might have been in the beginning, but it has been a long process. So originally granted by the planning board in 2018, I believe we might have gotten certain extensions that led us to obtaining a building permit in 2022. No extensions would have been needed from the planning board beyond the issuance of that building permit.
Right, okay. So just, again, for the public, and just to confirm, so in this case, we've gotten past the building permit portion, and obviously construction has been going on for a long period of time, and again, it's not complete yet, so they don't have COs issued, so the latter part of our requirements, right, where they get the CO within 2 years has not been met, and so that's the extension that they're asking for here. And George, if you could just speak to their first request, the first portion of the request, I suppose.
Yeah, so the first portion of the request was for determination on substantial completion because of the wording of the original approval resolution back in 2018. And I can pull it up. It's not open right now, but it was essentially tied to everything has to be substantially complete within 5 years of the approval. That is why the applicant asked for a determination on substantial completion. That's why Brian, the board may have seen his determination on this. It's up to the board if they would like to rely on that determination and hear only the extension request. But as Ms. Fausner said, essentially it's 8 buildings, 4 are done, 2 are in the process, and 2 are still at the very, very, very beginning of the process. So you could always ask Brian if you have any questions on that, or you could rely on the building inspector's determination on the completeness and proceed with the extension request.
Could the building inspector elaborate on how you came up with substantially complete?
How I came up that it was not substantially
He
complete.
came up with
Yes, please.
Oh, not. Got it.
Out of the 4 remaining buildings, building 4 is only at the first floor of 5 floors. Building 3 has about 10% of its footings done. Building 2 and 1 have not been submitted to our office at all. And there's probably 40 to 50% of the site work that still has to be completed. Maybe 40% of the site work still has to be
And
completed.
what's the argument, if any, from the applicant that says it's potentially substantially complete?
All they did was request, they didn't argue.
Could you speak to that?
Certainly, I can speak to that. So in looking at the site and the totality of all the work that's been done, it includes the demolition of 2 buildings that were on the site beforehand. It was all the site preparation work. It's the installation of all major sewer and water lines. It's the installation of all the stormwater retention basins, 3 throughout the site. It's the completion and full tenancy of 4 buildings. And when you look at, I think the chairman was speaking to what's the purpose of having the applicant come before the board for extensions. It's to make sure that the applicant's going to proceed with these approvals. We've seen all of the buildings be fully tenanted within months of being put on. The applicant is completely committed to building out this whole project. So in our eyes, we believe it's substantially complete, and we are committed to progressing and making sure Phase 2 is installed.
And George, is there a legal definition of substantially completed, or is it somewhat nebulous? I assume it's in the case law. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't have Westlaw on my brain right now, but a good starting point is a percentage of substantially complete. You may recall a few years ago this application was before us, and they also made a request for a determination of substantial completeness. At that point, 2 of the buildings were underway and 6 weren't touched. So there was a determination that there was no substantial completeness at that point.
So to confirm, that was the first,
That was the first 2-year extension request.
which we granted, and now.
And now they're back, and they've certainly made progress since then. So the applicant requested a determination of substantial completeness, presumably because why not? Or in the alternative, an extension, a further 2-year extension. But a lot of progress has been made in those 2 years based on just the representations at the last meeting and the representations at this meeting.
I mean, that sounds awfully subjective to me, right? Because it could be substantially complete from a financial expenditure perspective. It could be substantially complete from amount of work left to be done physically.
Yeah. Typically, in
Sounds
construction
very-
projects, substantial completion is based on actual percentage of work being done. How much work is left, especially in other projects, you know, when they release money in stages, for example, funding comes in stages, they look at how much work has been done, how much work is left. Is it just wiring? Is it the foundation? Is it a whole structure that has to go up? So Brian looked into all of that and made his determination, and again, the board could rely on that if they would like and proceed with the extension request portion. But Brian has determined that it is not substantially complete given the remaining work on the project.
I know the property has been subdivided since its initial inception. Does that in any way affect this?
No, it shouldn't. The project itself, you're determining substantial completion on the property itself, on the project itself, rather. The easiest way to look at it could be 8 buildings. What is the status of the 8 buildings? You have 4 that are complete, with COs issued and tenants living there. You have 4 that are not, so you're at 50% at most. Of those 4, 2 have not even started, so theoretically, and this is just me speaking out loud, I'm not telling you guys how to think, of course, out of the 4 left, 2 haven't been started, so 25% at most. And then out of those 2 that have been started, Brian elaborated what the status is, so, you know, that's sort of where it stands.
When they came before us the last time for their last 2-year extension, am I right? You said they had 2 buildings complete at
I believe at that
time.
point there were 2, it may not have been complete, but there were 2, and I could look back through the submission from back then, but I believe it was 2 that were underway or 2 in the process of being built, but certainly not the 4 that exist now that are closed out and everything.
So basically, in 2 years, they built, say, 2.5 buildings.
It may be more. I don't remember what the extent of those 2 buildings were. They may not have been complete. They may have been, you know, in the process, like Brian said, one now has foundation poured. It may have been that was the case. I don't recall. I could look back to see, and we could always look at the minutes, obviously.
So I can answer that. So when we last appeared before you in 2023, I believe 3 were underway, but full COs were issued for each of those buildings in 2024. So if your determination is based on when they issued certificates of occupancy, it was the year after we appeared before you. And as far as the internal lot subdivision goes, it's not a traditional subdivision. It's really just drawing lines on a map. The whole project site is still subject to that original site plan approval. We didn't change anything, propose any improvements. Everything is the same that was approved by the planning board.
Could one of the sites, one of the lots be sold separately?
Yes.
But with the same approvals, of course.
Yeah.
Oh,
right,
subject to a declaration of reciprocal easements, which has already been filed.
And then, so just to confirm, the last time you were here, none of these buildings were complete and none of them were rented out, and now 4 of them are rented out? Or
3 are rented out. One is a tenant amenity space.
Okay.
So if this were substantially complete, why would there be a request for a 2-year extension? Why not?
There wouldn't be.
A 1-year or 6-month extension? If
Well,
it were
there
that
wouldn't
close to
be an
completion?
extension request at all. If
No, I know. I mean, the choices to us is either say it's substantially complete or grant a 2-year extension
Or deny them.
or deny them.
Right, so-
Why wouldn't the request be, is it substantially complete or a 6-month extension or deny them?
Well, because
Doesn't seem to go hand in hand.
They're not going to be ready in
My
6
logic.
months.
Because the CO, a portion of the approval is based on a 24-month, so the previous extension
Yes.
request was based on obtaining a building permit.
Yes.
So it's, hold on, because I have it on another file.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is if it were substantially complete, 2-year extension would not be needed. That length wouldn't be needed.
Well, I think the question is, we don't have an understanding of what the board considers to be substantially complete. So if you say, no, it's not substantially complete, well, then you might set forth a completion of all the buildings. Then I would need at least 2 years to do that. So I don't have a better understanding. I wouldn't say, could you give me a substantial complete determination plus 6 months, and you say complete all the buildings? Well, that wouldn't be sufficient.
And
So-
if it was substantially, I'm sorry, Jordan.
That's right.
but I think this may be the answer. If it was substantially complete, there would be no extension required. The
Right.
approval
Understood.
back in '28, once substantial completion, they're good to go. I suspect, and Allison, you could speak more onto this, the 2 years gives that cushion. Think about it this way. The last time they were here, 2 years ago, if we gave a 6-month extension, they'd be coming back, they would have been back 4 times already, basically saying substantial complete or extension. This is a larger project. This isn't a single-family home. So I suspect that's also why the request is for 2 years. It gives them that cushion. It sounds like a decent amount of work was done in 2 years, so I suspect the 2 years gives them a pretty fair window at getting to substantial completion.
Got it.
So-
Thank you.
Also, just to draw a difference between Fishkill Ave and this, so our approvals timeline is an applicant needs to obtain a building permit within 6 months. So Fishkill Avenue has not obtained a building permit.
Yep.
So that's one control. Then after they've obtained the building permit, they have to commence construction within 6 months of that, which obviously Fishkill Avenue hasn't done, they have here. And then it's obtain a CO within 24 months. So that's the 2 years. So I think when you get to that third level where you've got the building permit, have commenced construction, then you're kind of looking at 2-year intervals. At least that's the way my mind is processing it.
Got it.
So the last 2 buildings that have had nothing done on them yet have not received a building permit as yet? Correct. Okay. So they're missing building permits for 2 of the buildings?
Correct, but that's interesting.
The extension of the approval would apply to all of the buildings. So essentially, until there's a substantial completion of the entire project, they will need to keep coming for an extension. Whether or not a building permit has been secured for all 4 of the remaining buildings or 2 of the remaining buildings, the extension extends everything. So even the buildings that have been completed are technically under this extension. The applicant wants to get the remaining 4 buildings built, the ones that have been issued and COs issued.
Right. Well, I guess the question that Elaine raises is, why did the buildings that have not been granted building permits need 6-month extensions?
Why do they not need 6-month extensions?
Correct. Why did those built academically and because?
Yeah, well, that would also open the door to then having the applicant have to come back in 2 years for 2 buildings and 6 months for the other 2 buildings, and you're splitting an approval that covers the entire project. The approval is not on a building-to-building basis, it's for the entire project. And again, because of the size of the project, it's not unusual to grant extensions, it's not unusual to grant lengthy extensions, and some municipalities I've seen grant these longer extensions on these more intricate projects so that the applicant does not have to keep coming back before the board and can actually proceed with finalizing everything.
The only question is, actually, some of the variances do apply to specific buildings in this.
Yes, some of
code.
the variances do, but the
They
approval.
don't apply to every building in the,
Correct, but the approval as a whole covers and the language of the approval is the variance shall terminate unless the proposed project. So it's the project as a whole that requires this.
Yeah, and they're not suggesting, we're not discussing changing any of the variances.
No.
It's
Correct.
just an extension so that they can keep
extension.
progressing with everything.
Anyone want to make a motion? Want me to-
Well, a motion on what?
Well, sure. Well, I mean, my preference, so I'll tell you what I think, I guess, and then maybe I can get someone to agree with me and make a motion. I would prefer not to disagree with the building inspector's determination that this is not substantially completed yet, and then move forward with a granting of a 2-year extension as they seem to be making progress, significant progress, in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would too.
So moved.
Okay. Can can someone make a motion agreeing with me, please?
So motion to agree with the chairman, and that is, that it is not substantially complete yet, and we will grant the variance as documented and requested here.
The extension.
The extension.
The extension.
2-year
Great.
extension.
So we have a motion by Montos. Can I have a second?
Second?
Second by Judy. All in favor?
Aye.
I thought I was the one that made the motion. It doesn't matter.
Aye. Sorry, Stowe.
That's okay.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
Motion. Second. Judy motion, second by Elaine. All in favor? Aye. And then can we just have the date for October, please? Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
October 21st.
Tuesday, October 21st is our next meeting.
Has,
Did we address the minutes?
We did.
yeah, we did.
Thank you.
We did the minutes.
Oh, yeah.